All right. Are you guys ready?
Let's do it.
Okay, excellent. Well, welcome everybody to Women in Whiskey 2.0. Welcome to my home in Eureka, Missouri. Usually we meet up in restaurants here in St. Louis, but we're doing it a little bit more COVID friendly with a smaller group of ladies. So I'm excited to welcome a few of them here in my kitchen. So this is Becky. Becky is the Missouri ambassador for Bourbon Women Association. And we have Catherine, and I'm going to mess up.
Cream Ryan.
No, you're.
Oh, I got it. I got it.
Or,
I got it.
So she's Virginia Distillery's whiskey attaché. I knew I was going to mess that up, so sorry about that. And then outside on my deck, we have Amy Gamlin and Leslie Pinn. So we're excited to have them. So Leslie and Amy, do you want to say hi?
Hi, you guys. Welcome. Welcome back.
So you'll hear some crickets in the background outside there. So we're all natural with this episode of Women in Whiskey. So we're going to start the event out with Dana from Power Play Beverage. Dana is going to do a cocktail for us, which some of you should have some kits in front of you that have the ingredients for the cocktail. So follow along, and if you have any questions, let us just put them in the chat.
Hey, Elizabeth, can I introduce our team real quick?
Yeah, I would love that.
Well, okay. Hi, everyone. My name is Bob Landigan. I am not a woman of whiskey, but I am a sales manager for the Virginia Distillery, and we've had a great relationship with the Missouri Whiskey Society. We've tried to get with an event with you guys before, but as Elizabeth said, it's been COVID crazy and it's been canceled and rescheduled, but we're so glad to have this opportunity with you. So it's kind of a collective effort. What I think is really cool about tonight is that we've got Dana from our distributor at her house. We've got Amanda from our distillery at the distillery. I'm in Chicago, and we even have Catherine in your house there, who's our whiskey attaché for St. Louis, for the eastern part of Missouri. So let me just say welcome to Becky, Leslie, Amy, Mia, Diane, Amy, Laura, and Hawkins, if I got that right on my screen. From our team, as I mentioned, Catherine is at Elizabeth's house. Catherine is our feet on the street in St. Louis. She's our whiskey ambassador. And she's trained, just like I am, by Amanda Beckwith. I like to call Amanda the first lady of American Single Malt at our distillery. She's in the middle of your screen, and she'll do the training tonight on our whiskeys, and Dana can talk about the cocktails she's made. I think Catherine's got some stuff for you at Elizabeth's house. So AB, you're still muted on my screen, but I will turn it over to you, and then we can roll with however you guys want to do it. I'm just sneaking in to say hello and introduce everyone. So cheers.
Cheers. Thank you, Bob. Cheers. Well, yeah, I was a little heartbroken that I couldn't come last time to St. Louis, so I'm really thrilled about this opportunity. And to save time, Dana, you can just take it away, and I'll be all yours to talk whiskey afterwards.
Okay, great. Everybody, if you have your kits, you can follow along. So you're going to start out with the Virginia Distillery, the port. We're going to do 1 1.5 ounce pour into your shaker, and your shaker should be filled with ice. I might do, pardon me?
So Dana, I'm going to chime in. So everybody that has the beverage, the cocktail kits, they're labeled on the top. So VP is the whiskey that she's talking about, and then LLOB is the lemon lime orange bitters, and then CSS is cranberry simple syrup. So just so everybody knows as you're going through. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Oh, that's okay. No, that's perfect. Okay, so everybody, if you put in your Virginia Distillery port, so that was 1 1.5 ounce. Then I'm going to put in 1 1.5 ounce of the, like we said, the syrup. So this is cranberry, cinnamon, and sage. And I know we were a little jumped the gun because the cranberries, obviously you can't find fresh cranberries, but hopefully everybody was able to get that. Then go ahead. I guess you guys have your syrup, your juices all in one.
Yep.
So 1/2 ounce lime juice, 1/2 ounce of your orange juice, and 1/2 ounce of your, what am I missing? Orange, we have orange, lemon, and lime.
Yes, and all of ours are mixed into one thing.
Okay, that's
so-
perfectly acceptable. That's totally fine. And then it says to put the bitters on the top. I'm gonna put the bitters in mine. You guys can do it as you like, but I'm gonna put the bitters in there because I love bitters. Okay. And then we're gonna shake. Everybody, I'm like, is everybody shaking? And then you're gonna pour into a rocks glass. I've got my rocks glass here when I did a garnish of the dried cranberries. Oh my gosh, look at that color. That color is just gorgeous. And I've got somebody else that's joining, so I'm gonna make her up a cocktail as well, even though I could drink this whole thing. I mean, I know there's a lot of purists out there that obviously like to drink their whiskey straight, but I like to be able to show that these products are very mixable. And then we're gonna taste and cheers. See how this tastes. Wow, that's fantastic. I love
And-
I love the tartness of the cranberry. I just think that really elevates it. And then the lemon and lime and the orange. I mean, this is my type of cocktail.
And there's also sugared cranberries in with the kit. So go ahead and just throw that in as a little garnish also. Cheers. Cheers.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Cheers. And welcome to all the ladies. And then we will turn it over. Catherine, do you want to go ahead and say some words, please?
I have to unmute. Hi, everybody.
Hi, Catherine.
So, let's see. Okay. This is funny. Well, I would love to introduce Amanda because Amanda is phenomenal. She will make you will listen to her without even having tasted anything. You would want to run out and absolutely pick up a bottle, whatever she's talking about. And then you would want to run home and make all kinds of food to go with it because she has a palate that is bar none, and she can describe it better than the best English professor can use words, let me tell you. But yes, I don't know what else to say except that Virginia Distillery has been a tremendously amazing place. Their product is wonderful and everybody is tremendous. And take it away, Amanda.
That was so kind. I
so
love
true.
getting to meet you. Last time I was in Missouri, so this is really a full circle and it makes me so happy. I just have to throw love to women first off because most of you know this, but our palates are naturally usually better than men. We have a better sense of smell, and because roughly 70% of your sense of taste comes from smell, we have a pretty awesome advantage. And I think that's kind of how I got in love with whiskey from the first part, and specifically single malts. So I'm sure you've all had many types of single malts over your excursion into the whiskey world, but American single malts are pretty unique. And we're part of this American Single Malt Commission fighting to get the TTB to recognize us as a category. So most of you have probably had some very peated single malts from Scotland, maybe Lafroig or Lagavulin, Ardbeg. And, you know, that's a sense of place. You really know where that's from. And for me, being able to develop a Virginia whiskey was really fascinating. And I wish I could bring you all here and just have you with me surrounded by these barrels because the aroma is fantastic. And in a sense, it's kind of heartbreaking because it is lost from the whiskey. I don't know how many of you have been to Scotland, but if you have, you probably know the weather there is pretty consistent, especially up in the Highlands. It's usually a little overcast, solid chance of rain, maybe 45 degrees. Doesn't matter if it's January or July. I always say we pack the same suitcase. And Virginia is crazy. You guys have seen some pretty big swings with temperature in Missouri. It's even more of that here in Virginia. So in hot weather, barrel staves expand and they soak up the spirit, and in cold weather, they contract and push it back out. So it's this breathing process, and you get color and flavor very naturally, very quickly right here. there's the sad side, and that's what I'm smelling right now, and that's the evaporation. So it's the angel share. In Scotland, you might lose 1%, maybe 2 max in a year. We get 6, 8, 12% loss out of a barrel in a single year. So I think that really sets our single malt apart. And so we have this motto, we let the whiskey tell us when it's ready. And part of that is sensory. So if you guys ever get a chance to come out here, I'd love to put you all to work, pulling samples from the barrels, doing nosings to see things. But I know you've got the cocktails right now, so I'll wait until later to do the actual nosing of the single malt. But you guys tell me when you're ready. Also, if you have questions, feel free to put it in the chat or just go ahead and shout it out, because I love just answering questions and talking about whatever you're interested in. But I thought I'd kind of take a step back and tell you about the history of Virginia Distillery Company. So if that works for you guys, just give me a thumbs up and I'll keep going. Awesome. So we are a family-owned distillery. We're the largest American single malt distillery in the country. And we're owned by the Moore family. They were Irish immigrants who came over in the early 70s. And Dr. George Moore would say, oh, it looks like somebody's not able to get in. I just saw that pop up on the chat just as an FYI. But yeah, the idea was he was getting his scholarship and then going to just move into the tech world. But George Moore loved single malts, and it really bothered him that there was an American single malt to share with his friends and family. So that's kind of the origins of us. And single malts is a single grain, always malted barley from a single distillery. And so that really gives you a sense of place, and it makes you stand out wherever you're from. So if you're in Scotland, you've got the regions of Scotland. And I really think that the United States has such a vast variance from East Coast to West Coast. It's fascinating right there. Even central United States, Midwest versus the East Coast is huge. So it's been really fun to play around with that and see the impacts. So even though whiskey is made up of 3 ingredients here, water, yeast, and grain, we found that there's some really fun ways to play around and bring out more flavor. So one of the cool things that we've really gotten into is the barrels. And we use 3 different types of barrels. We're really geeky about those. And so for the bourbon lovers, roughly 50% of the whiskey we're aging for our single malt comes in these barrels right here. Their first life was in Kentucky, Brown-Forman distilleries. So if you're nosing the whiskey eventually and you get to caramel, vanilla, toffee, butterscotch, little cinnamon spice, well, we credit those bourbon barrels with that. By law, whiskey has to age, well, it depends on where you're from, different regulations. If you're in Scotland, 3 years and a day in oak barrels. If you're making bourbon, well, you have to use new charred oak, because the Coopers Guild lobbied the US government after World War II and said, hey, nobody's using our barrels anymore, help us out. And so for people like us, we're very happy to take those barrels and give them a second life. And we think it's a more gentle experience on the whiskey. So if you've ever had a bourbon and gone, I felt like I just chewed a 2x4, I don't like that. Well, I mean, that has its place and it's really great when you're in the mood for it. But for me, I wanted a more gentle dram. And so we love those used bourbon casks. And it's really fun to see that as a foundation for us. So yeah, if you're getting those notes or anything else, I'd love to hear it. So feel free to type in your tasting notes or go ahead and shout them out. But that's something that's pretty standard in the United States. If you're making bourbon, use the new oak. And then you could go to Scotland and see lots of whiskey being aged and used bourbon barrels, just like us. But we also use sherry casks, and these had their first life in Spain. And if you're nosing, you'll probably get some tropical fruit, maybe candied pineapple, or maybe even some guava or mango, apricot. Those notes I like to credit to the sherry casks. So they had the fortified wine, and we use different types, Fino, Oloroso, Pedro Jimenez, and it's really fun to see those notes come through, and they're more playful, so I kind of call them top notes coming in and just surprising you. And I like to think of whiskey as being layered and complex and taking time to develop. So if you open this whiskey, you might want to take some time and come back to it after an hour. I did a press tasting earlier today, and we spent an hour nosing whiskey, and by the end we were getting notes that we weren't getting at all from the beginning.
Hey, Amanda, we had a few people yes. Pop in a little bit later. Can you tell them which one we're tasting right now? Because I want to make sure they yes. know what to pour. So they should have in their little bag a bottle of Courage and Conviction. And so if you want to pour that out, you'll be able to taste
Perfect.
it. And sorry for the ones that I didn't see you to admit right away. My apologies. We did do the cocktail portion already, so feel free to put all of those ingredients together in a glass and shake it up, and enjoy that along the way as well.
Thank you. Yeah. So this is our single malts. It's an American single malt. And yeah, we were just talking about the barrel types that go into it. So the 3 ingredients for this one are water, yeast, and barley, but really the barrels make such an impact too. So I love using used barrels because you're able to still get some fermentation notes that can come through. So maybe you're getting a little bit of banana nut bread, or maybe a little bit of apple too. And those are notes that come from fermentation. So it's a little bit more unique. If you were here, I would love to take you through our fermentation tank so you could smell all the amazing aromas coming up out of there. But yes, and then our third type of cask that we use is my favorite type. And this is something that's really unique. In the industry, they're called STR casks for shave, toast, repair, but we call them cuvee casks. And in their first life, they held a premium red wine blend in Spain. And we bring them over, we shave the inside of the staves, toast them with indirect heat, then blast them with a real quick char before coopering them back together. So if you're nosing the Courage and Conviction single malt and you're getting milk chocolate, tart raspberry, or bright cherry notes, we like to credit the cuvee casks with that. And so it's been really fun to see how these come together and play well. So we do a lot of blending trials before bottling. And if you're really geeky like I am, you might want to head to batch.info. It's batch.info. And we put in all the information about every cask. So for the very first release of Courage and Conviction, I picked 37 different casks. 21 of those were former bourbon casks, like the one behind me. 10 of them were those cuvee casks, and then 6 were different sherry casks, so 2 of each type. And we batted them all together, did a very slow reduction of water, and then we bottled. And are any of you wine drinkers?
Yes.
Yes, hands up. As a wine drinker, you probably know all about swirling your wine to oxidize it, opening it up, getting more aromas. This is a 92 proof whiskey, so you're not going to want to do that. But if you want to do the same sort of process and play chemist, you can add a drop or 2 of water. In Scotland, they call that releasing the serpents. And so you're opening it up, proofing it down a little bit, and you're going to get totally different aromas if you do that. So I like doing 92 proof whiskey because it gives you room to play. You can serve it on the rocks if you want. You can put it in a cocktail. It's going to handle that dilution really well. So that's kind of our fun trick there. Any questions about single malts or Courage and Conviction? I like to do a drive-by when I'm nosing to get different aromas. And then I usually do like a little priming sip to say, oh yeah, this is 92 proof whiskey, before I do a larger sip to let the whiskey work its way over my tongue. I was lied to as a kid, or just misinformed, when I was told that there are different areas of your tongue, or this is where you get sour, this is where you get sweet, this is where you get bitter. Instead, as I've studied and read, I found that the taste buds are all mixed up all over your tongue, and that's why I really enjoy the whole experience of, you know, maybe even chewing the whiskey, letting the oxygen in with it, and getting a lot out of it.
How long was the whiskey aged, and was it always in the same barrel?
It was always in the same barrel, one of the 3 different types before they were vatted together. And for our very first batch, it was aged just under 4 years. Our second batch, we have some whiskey that's over 4 years. And I love that question because we have a motto that we let the whiskey tell us when it's ready. So we have little sensors scattered around, and we get readings, and we can track things like humidity. In that breathing process, sometimes we even have water coming into the barrels through the humidity, not just evaporating out. So it's been really crazy to track that and see. But we go up here every single week, and we pull samples and see, and we're looking for the whiskey to say, yeah, now's the time. And so we've got some gorgeous barrels in our second batch that I'm really excited about. And we've already made selections for our third batch.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
And if anyone has questions, feel free to unmute yourself, or like she said, use the chat.
What'd you guys think of the cocktail?
Delicious.
I read that as a Christmas cocktail, and I was so excited when I heard that you guys were going to do it now, because I really feel like it's this great segue from fall into the rest of the year. So I'm going to start making it earlier now, for sure.
Well, and that's one of our goals with Women in Whiskey is that we introduce cocktails that we can then have at holiday gatherings. And if we're not gathering, at least make for ourselves and feel festive.
Yes.
ourselves. So yeah, we wanted to have the seasonality reflective with our events.
I love that. I do an apple cider smash cocktail, and I've got another one called Sweater Weather that are just like that. So Sweater Weather, it's the same cocktail, but one is blended over ice, so it's a great hot summer day or like late August, early September cocktail, and then you can mull it on the stovetop with some cinnamon sticks for the rest of the year when it starts getting cooler. So, and then the apple cider smash, you can batch it up. So if you've got a lot of family coming over for the holidays, go to town.
We actually mixed
I agree.
the apple cider tonight with the Courage and Conviction, and it was fantastic. Very easy, just poured it together.
Yeah. Oh, great question. I will take a moment and segue over to talk about our other line of whiskeys, because this is our finishing series. It's a lot of fun. So I've got a little cute trio pack here. So I know you guys just had the port cask finish in your cocktail. And yes, when we were getting started, a lot of distilleries start with a vodka, gin, rum, something to have out the gate really quickly. And we are just really passionate about barley. Barley is my favorite grain. It's the best at converting starches over for alcohol conversion, which you have to have. And so we thought, well, how do we tell our story? So we brought over whiskey that had already aged for at least 6 years, most of it closer to 12 years in Scotland. And we married it with our own whiskey. And I know you guys have had your share of blended whiskeys. I always talk about Johnny Walker, Dewar's, Famous Grouse. These have 30 to 40 different whiskeys going into every bottle. And most of them are grain whiskeys made in column stills with rye, corn, wheat, oats. And then usually you throw one single malt into the mix. And it's a great history. It used to be grocers that would do that. They would get a couple barrels from local farmers and blend it together for consistency, and then they'd sell it. So when you talk blended whiskeys, there's nothing really like our VHW or Virginia Highland whiskey line. And so we kind of think of it as a marriage. What we did was we brought over that whiskey that had aged in Scotland, added our own whiskey that had been aging here in Virginia, and then we got different barrels from local wineries to finish in. So we have port style barrels from local wineries, and then we use true port barrels, tawny and ruby port mostly from Portugal, to finish in. And it was kind of an experiment, but we won World Whiskey Awards best in category, and then we kept winning. We've won every year since for our port cask finish whiskey, and I love it. I always tell Bob, it's my curl up with a dog and a good book whiskey. And it's true. It's my campfire whiskey. It's great in cocktails. I've done everything from Sazeracs and Manhattans and Old Fashions and toddies to crazy things where I mix in some mezcal and fresh berry puree, and it never lets me down. It plays really well with others. So I love that port finish. I really answered that question, didn't I? I kind of went above and beyond. Sorry. Any other questions? And do you guys have samples of the other whiskeys too? I wasn't sure what all was in that kit, Dana.
Right. Just for this one, we had the sample of the Virginia Distillery Port and then the Courage and Conviction.
Perfect.
Those sample packs will be out at your retail where you like to shop. So if they do not have them, make sure you request them. They are great for a gift. They're just so great to have those little 375s, I think.
Yeah, it's really fun because we're surrounded here in Virginia with local wineries and cideries and breweries. So we've been able to give our barrels away to the cideries, and they have aged their cider in whiskey barrels. And when they were done, we took the barrels back and we finished in those. And Whiskey Advocate ranked us in the top 20 whiskeys of 2018 for our cider finish, which was really fun. Laura was asking about release date and retailer for the trio pack, I believe.
So the trio pack at any of your wine and cheese stores you can check with, and if they don't have it, you can request it, and check your Friar Tucks as well. And then wherever you like to shop, if they don't have it, you can request it, and then they will reach out to me and we'll make sure that you guys get it.
Yeah, we love barrels. We're really geeky about them. And so if you're curious about the different barrels that we're using for aging, we are actually next spring releasing extensions. So we'll have Courage and Conviction Sherry Cask and Courage and Conviction Bourbon Cask and even Cuvée Cask. So you could blend your own. You don't have to do 50% of one. You can do whatever proportion you'd like. And I think that's going to be really exciting. So yeah. Other questions? I can keep talking. Yeah, something fun for us has been, oh, Elizabeth or Catherine?
So I was, Bob very kindly sent me the recipe for the sweater weather, and it calls for something called Pratt's Standard Cola Syrup.
Cola syrup.
Don't have that because it says it contains caffeine. What could you sub? So this was apple cider, and it was what, simple syrup, lemon juice? No, the cola syrup.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
can make a simple syrup yourself. I would use brown sugar and maybe throw a cinnamon stick in there as it simmers. But absolutely, my heart gets jumpy with a lot of caffeine too, so I often make it without the cola syrup.
Okay.
That was a good question. Any others? Well, if you think of something while I'm talking, don't hesitate to put it in the chat or just unmute and shout it out.
There's a couple of questions, Amanda, on that got texted in.
Ooh, okay. Let's pull it up. All right. So we talked about the port, the release dates, and the retailer.
Got it.
I think we covered all the ones that I see in chat. Any I missed?
Good, yes.
How long have you been involved with the business?
I have been involved for over 5 years. When I started, the visitor center was a hole in the ground, and it was several months before we were even distilling our first drops of whiskey. So I've been here kind of since day one, and I'm the second oldest employee by duration. So it's been a lot of fun to see. I was an English major who got into nonprofits, and I worked at the Virginia Aquarium for a while. I loved it, but whiskey was my hobby. I love to travel and learn about food and cultures, and whiskey was just a natural part of that. And I heard about a distillery opening up because of a book club I was in. They were looking for cool places to go, and somebody in our group sent a link saying, hey, there's a distillery opening here in Virginia. And I thought, it's going to be bourbon, I'm sure, but I followed the link, and it was American single malt, and I was intrigued, and I don't even know what happened, but I wrote a resume and a cover letter and sent it in immediately. I talked about, I think, dogs and chocolate and coffee in it. I don't know. But within 2 days, I got an email saying, hey, we want to build a visitor center and we need somebody to help with that. So I was brought in to build the tour and tasting program, which I did. And today they don't need me at all. They're incredible. I have the best team in the world who give it their heart and soul. So even though I still oversee the guest experience, most of my job is blending. So I'm part of the sensory panel and product team. So we do all the developments, and I do sensory and cast selections up here. And I was really lucky because since you're all women, I'd like to talk about my mentor, and her name is Nancy Fraley. She's called the Nose, and she trained in cognac, and she lives out in California and has been so gracious and just always takes her time to share anything with me. She took me to Texas to work with her at Iron Root Distillery down there, and we did a lot of blending trials, and she just has the most incredible nose. And she came in just to do a little sensory overview with us, oh goodness, almost 5 years ago. And she singled me out and said, this woman has a palate and I want to work with her. And so thanks to her, I really have moved into blending, and it's something I'm really passionate about.
Great.
And you're great at it.
Thank you. We have an incredible team. So I was able to build a sensory panel, which is really kind of unheard of. There are distillers who are in it. I even have a guy from our corporate team, our controller, who comes and helps. But I built a sort of a grading system. And what we found is we really don't have any bad whiskeys here. I always know to look out for faulted whiskeys and flaws, but we're able to catch all of that before it ever enters a barrel. So what we've been doing is we grade the barrels in 2 ways, and this is really geeky. But the first way is A, B, or C, and C is a very foundational barrel. It's the notes you'd expect, and you definitely want some of that to go into any blend that you're doing. B is something a little more distinctive, and it might have 1 or 2 notes that really stand out. And then an A barrel is something that's just like, wow, I'm getting so much orange zest from this. Or it has this phenomenal texture that I think is really great, creamy mouthfeel. And so that's fun. And then we have 1, 2, and 3 to go with it. So we could have a 2B or something like that, where we talk about the age of it. So it could be that it's just a little young and not ready yet, all the way up to being, all right, it's a 1, it's ready. So I really enjoyed making that system up, and to my knowledge, nobody else has done anything quite like that for grading barrels. And it's a lot of work. I have a massive tracker and a big log book that I fill with it. But we go through and revise, and we have a lot of whiskey that's not quite ready. Keep an eye on it. It should be coming, very soon. And it's fun work. Other questions?
I love all of this. And Amanda, thank you so much for, sharing your knowledge and experience and all that. Dana, thank you so much for making this cocktail. If anybody has questions, please still use the chat. We will be on still, but just wanted to thank you for taking time out tonight and sharing everything with us. This was amazing. And I know I learned a lot. I know Leslie did. And it was just so great. And it's so nice to get back to Women in Whiskey because, we haven't for the last few months. And now that our restaurants are unfortunately closed, we don't have a place for it. And this is the relaunch. And we wanted to bring this back because this was such a great group, a good social group to get together and, talk whiskey, learn different things, try different things, and just be more knowledgeable and be able to do that in a safe space with other women. And I'm just so excited that this is back. And thank you everyone that has come back. This was the first of many. And I'm just going to share a little bit about the new relaunch program of the Women in Whiskey. And for those of you that I don't know, my name is Amy Gamlin. I'm actually the founder of Women in Whiskey. Back 6 years ago when Gamlin Whiskey House was opening, my husband turned to me and said, okay, now you're going to have to start liking whiskey. And I said, no, that's not my thing, And so I told him, if you want me to start liking whiskey, I want to create an event where women can come together, ask silly questions, add water, add ice cubes, add, some Coke if you need to, or, whatever, and not feel intimidated. And so that's how this group came about. We have a lot of repeat members that come back every single month. We have new people that come every month, and I just love it. And I'm so excited to tell you all about what we have planned. Not everything, because we got to keep a little bit in suspense, but we are going to be relaunching Women in Whiskey. And so this is the first of many Zoom tapes. We will continue to do them virtually until, COVID goes away and we have a place that we can all get together without restrictions. But what we are going to do, a lot of you are on the Women in Whiskey Facebook page. If you're not, you definitely want to follow that and share it with your friends. We are going to change things over a little bit into more of a membership program. So right now, until the end of the month, you can sign up to become a member with Women in Whiskey for $75. At the end of the month, it will go up to $99. That is for a whole year. That is the membership. You are going to get a welcome gift. And I don't know if Elizabeth can chime in on this. I don't know if I'm allowed to tell what it is, but you will get a welcome gift. You will get access to exclusive event tickets. So a lot of you know we had a monthly dinner / tasting. I don't know if every month will be a dinner. We have a couple different ideas. For example, a stave party, building succulents. Maybe I do cake pops also. So maybe like a cake pop class, like different things, different fun events that women can do. And then also, obviously, we will have an educational whiskey piece to it. You'll have free access to the Zoom tastings once a month, which will always still stay on the first Wednesday of every month, just like it's always been. And then you can also get the monthly cocktail recipe. So the drink we had was the Merry Maker. We have little postcards like this that has the ingredients, the recipe, really nice. You can kind of collect these and make them at a later date. And then also, of course, we had the sample kits that you can participate by purchasing these for $15, having it on the Zoom, be able to make it here live on the Zoom with us. So that's separate as well, but you will get the recipe card and then collect all those over the course of the year. You can sign up at womeninwhiskey.com. It's women and the and symbol, not spelled out, whiskey.com.
That was a typo. Yep. It's womenwhiskey.com.
Oh,
we'll send it later. Yep.
But all this information we will put into the Facebook group, but I just want to encourage everyone to join, you know, especially while it's discounted, save some money and join us so you can be part of this every single month, first Wednesday of every month. And I'm just so excited for everything that we have in store because it's going to be really, really fun. And the location for the monthly events will change until we have a more permanent location that we will do every time. So those event tickets will be limited quantity. Obviously, we are making sure that we're social distancing, keeping, you know, numbers probably 12 to 14 tickets. So those will be first come, first serve. But as a member, you will have access to purchase those.
It's
Elizabeth,
a bargain.
yes.
No, I think you covered it all, Amy. So yes, we're so excited to restart this, and it is definitely worth the value. So that membership it gives you access to purchase those monthly event tickets and get access to the Zoom tastings. And so I'm one of the co-founders of Missouri Whiskey Society, and the difference between that group and this group is that it's social. It's cocktailing. It's really kind of getting the more approachable level of whiskey. And as you guys experience whiskey and want to learn more and get more of that educational base, we encourage you to join Missouri Whiskey Society. All the ladies here tonight are members of both. And so they get to have that social side with the women in whiskey side and the super in-depth educational level that we get with Missouri Whiskey Society. So we are sister programs, and you'll see us doing events together throughout the year. And we had this plan for about a month, and I have been giddy all month to have a couple women in my home and socialize and be together. And it has brought me so much joy. And I hope you guys join in, and in coming to our events, you'll feel that joy as well. So thank you for being with us virtually tonight. Thank you for Virginia Distillery, Bob, Dana, Amanda. Amanda, I cannot wait to come visit you in Virginia.
Love that.
And I'm totally geeking out over your mentor. Like, I wish I could live vicariously through you. That's amazing. So if you guys have any questions, please let us know. If you go to womenwhiskey.com, there's all the information that you need. And there's also our contact information at the bottom of the page. And as Amy said, go ahead and join us on Facebook as well. Amy, you forgot to mention your Facebook contest.
Okay. So what I want you guys to do, I know there are some of you watching that maybe you're watching with 2 other people, 3 other people. I know some of my friends are having a little small get together. What I want you guys to do is take a picture of the group that you're watching with, or even if you're watching by yourself, take a picture with you with the camera, post it on social media, tag Women in Whiskey Facebook page. You could tag me, you could tag Elizabeth. We will put everybody that posts tonight and tags us, name in a hat. You can win a free November event kit, the cocktail kit. So we just want to do that little giveaway, share, spread the word about our group. Make sure to tag actually that Facebook page. That way, you know, your friends on social media can follow along. And what I love too about this is that, you know, a lot of all these tastings, even with those events that we're doing every month, we will still go live and do the Zoom tasting virtually. So if you have friends in California, New York, all over the world, they can still be a part of this and join us and have access to all that. So make sure that you're sharing it, you know, not just locally, but anyone across the country. And then also, I was going to say, are we allowed to say what the welcome gift is?
Oh, yes. So our welcome gift is a handmade locally leather keychain. So you could use it as a keychain with the Women in Whiskey logo on it. But one of our other ideas with it is that you hole punch your recipe cards throughout the year and use it as like a little recipe card holder. And so it was just kind of a random idea we had when we were talking about it. So it is handmade by a fantastic leather maker here in St. Louis. And so we're excited to support local with this. So they are getting ordered next week. So those that are signing up, it'll be a few weeks before we can get those shipped out. So yeah, I think we think we have everything we need to say tonight. Thank you again, Virginia Distiller. Your products are amazing. Every time I sample them, I get more excited about them. And as you're all holiday shopping, Make sure that you pick up a pack. They're great gifts. And also a membership is a great gift for your sisters or sister-in-laws or aunts, any special woman in your life that you think would like to join in on the fun. So make a merry maker, as we come into the holiday season. So cheers, everybody. Should we raise a glass?
Cheers.
Our question, I think that came, Elizabeth. Whiskey Society meets the third Wednesday of every month.
Yeah, and you can learn more at MissouriWhiskeySociety.com about that as well. So, all right, I don't have a glass. Oh. All right. Well, cheers, everybody. Happy fall, y'all.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Cheers. And I want to thank Elizabeth and Amy, obviously, for reaching out to me. And of course, Bob and Amanda and all these lovely ladies. I can't wait to see you guys all in person. So everybody everybody stay safe and healthy. And I will see everybody soon.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.